everybody. It's Denise DiGrigoli here live every Tuesday on the HN Network, coming to you with a talk show called The Drive. The Drive brings together people, places, and ideas and organizations that can move us mindfully and consciously. We always start off this show, and I'm so glad we get to spend this roughly hour together with a mindful minute. If you remember last week, we were talking about how perception colors everything, and I showed you that image where you might be able to see the young lady versus the old lady, depending on your mood. We're moving right along today with an incredible show, and I want to talk to you about visually mapping. If you've got a dilemma, if you've got a problem you need to solve, you're in transition, a new business, an idea, let's shift lanes. You know, we're all about shifting lanes and trying something new here on The Drive. You've got something up on the screen that's a handwritten visual map. We start with the main idea, the problem or the situation we want to solve or the creative idea we want to expand on with the circle center. So that not necessarily problem, idea, new business, new baby coming, new relationship starting, ending, getting through some illness, etc., etc. And from that, we draw little lines or branches and little bubbles, and it's a creative process to unload and brainstorm. I personally like to use color markers. You know it's big in my book, My Daily Drive, An Agenda for Your Mind, Body, Spirit, and Lifestyle, because color and things handwritten make it more committable. What happens there is, oh, there's the book and the pens. Thank you, guys. The cool thing about that is it toggles the left and right sides of the brain, opens up the possibilities, pathways for new opportunities to come in, as opposed to just a written business plan or a list of to-dos. So the Mindful Minute today is we're taking off on the thoughts of last week's talk where we said perception colors everything. If you're stuck, let's get in a lane change. Let's try something new. Break out those markers, grab your daily drive or a fresh sheet of paper, and just doodle it. Doodling synthesizes information. Oh, this is another cool one. Color helps retain. You know, it used to be in the old days, doodling was for dummies. That's so old, nasty rhetoric, we never want to hear it on the drive. And one of the things we often say, and I hope you use this every week, is we should not should on ourselves. It's about creativity. You know, each and every week we try to bring you something new that explores ways to move forward. I hope this week you'll give visual mapping a little try. Tweet me at Denise DiGrigoli or here at HAN Network CT. Let me know what you think. Is it working? Are you stuck? Do you need some help? And if you like the show, we hope you share it. We'll be back in 1 minute with an outstanding guest who is helping with the achievement gap here in Connecticut, a champion for teachers and students alike in a way that is so inspiring, creating well-being for others in a way that you might not have thought. We'll be right back. It's Denise DiGrigoli here on The Drive every Tuesday, the HN Network. It's how you fuel your mind, your body, your spirit that creates that life you live. Fuel it well. We'll be right back.
At the Milford Bank, we offer an extensive selection of lending products and services to meet virtually any need. Submit your application online in our Mortgage Web Center. Start to finish, you can apply for a loan in as little as 10 minutes. Our knowledgeable and helpful staff are available to meet with you at your convenience. To learn more about what we can do for you, stop by one of our Milford Bank offices or visit us at milfordbank.com. The Milford Bank, always there. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know heart attacks and strokes are the leading cause of death in America? Protect the health of you and your loved ones. Talk to a doctor about heart disease. Hi, I'm Dr. David Pazer with ProHealth Physicians, encouraging you to stay informed about health matters that affect you.
ProHealth Physicians is on the pulse of social media to share information about health and nutrition with the community. Get up-to-the-minute alerts, including ProHealth Physicians news and upcoming events. Connecticut's leading group of primary care doctors is just a click away.
Let our satisfied customers tell it.
I have called Mr. Handyman for every reason, every occasion, every broken item, every leak. They have bailed me out on many occasions, and I would recommend them to anyone.
For any project, large or small.
MrHandymanCD.com.
Pizza to satisfy even the most demanding critics. Wilton Pizza.
Family and Children's Aid has been serving the community since 1809 and is now the largest outpatient children's mental health care provider in Western Connecticut. Our innovative services include providing shelter to homeless moms and children, substance abuse intervention, mental health counseling, and foster and adoptive services, among others. Our goal is to provide individuals and families a safe haven and hope for a brighter future. Find out more about us at fcaweb.org and call our Danbury campus at 203-748-5689.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have Dr. Bryan Ripley Crandall. I call him Dr. C, is in the house. This guy is phenomenal. He spends his life inspiring students and creating total well-being. Dr. C, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here with you.
You just won the Elizabeth Freem, am I saying it correctly?
Elizabeth M. Freem Award for Civic Leadership.
Civic Leadership.
Yeah.
And so many of my friends were tweeting me, and they're like, you have to get a hold of this guy. He is a rock star, creating kids, well-being through your programs. But really, before we get into the Leadership Award, I want to know how a guy from Syracuse gets to Kentucky, and teaches forever, and then gets up here.
Okay, so
we need the backstory.
So I always say that my influences as a writer or thinking about writing was first my grandmother, who was from the Ukraine, and she was one of those wacky, eccentric personalities who anything I scribbled with crayons on a piece of paper, she would take it, and the next time I came to visit her, she would write a poem about my scribble, making it come alive.
Wow.
So I learned from her at a young age that life is meant to be written, and it's meant to be documented in journals, and it's meant to be playful. Then I went to K-12 schools, and we didn't write very much. It was kind of dull. We wrote for the New York State Regents exams. We were kind of bored as students. And not
Birds in a cage?
Yeah, not inspired. Yes, birds in a cage. Yeah,
yeah.
Kids kept under a rock. And then I had a 5th grade teacher, Mr. Finster, who was incredible and very inspirational. He had multiple sclerosis. He taught from a wheelchair, and he was as creative can be. And that year fueled me for the rest of my life because I started to see that writing was beyond the tests that our schools were given. And then I didn't write again to my senior year when I had to do, the 10-page paper, research paper. Moved on to Binghamton University in college, and then we wrote all the time. And so the big question for me became, why aren't we teaching more writing in our K-12 schools when it's all that we expect when we go to college, right? And it's a way of survival in the real world to write your way into knowing. So as I finished up my degree at Binghamton, inspired by a lot of professors there, I did my research, and Kentucky had the holistic writing portfolio assessment, which meant that kids wrote K through 12 in all content
Did
areas.
you find this yourself, or did someone present it to you, or did you dig it up?
No, I was in my senior year. I was doing an internship at Binghamton High School, and a woman administrator came back from Kentucky, and she talked to me, and she said, if I was young and starting all over again, I would move to Kentucky because they are doing such great stuff with their students with writing.
Wow,
and
that's
so,
fabulous.
Isn't that great? Right.
Yeah.
So when I moved there, I went to the University of Louisville, and I pursued my teaching certification, and then I started teaching at a school called the J. Graham Brown School in Louisville, and it took one boy and one girl from each of the zip codes in the city. So super diversity was its mission. We were on a first name basis. We had couches instead
What
of
grades
desks.
were this now?
I taught high school, but it was a K-12
Okay.
school.
Okay.
And so I learned from, 10 years in the classroom how awesome young people are if you allow them to explore their creativity, their inspirations, their motivations.
Right.
And so I led the classroom there for 10 years. We had outstanding writing scores. We did student plays at the kids' 10-minute play festival that we started. We did spoken word jams.
So cool.
Yeah, it was
now, how long
awesome.
were you there?
10 years. 10 years in that in
Wow.
the classroom, and I did a second master's while I was there as well. And then I started volunteering with Kentucky Refugee Mission, which relocated refugees, and it changed my teaching.
Oop.
Because all of a sudden I was tutoring adult men from the Sudan for their community college work. And they started working with my high school students, and we started to realize that the diversity that was at the Brown School was actually more global, and that our diversity could be inspired by bringing in several refugee stories that were coming to the city of Louisville. And I say all that for a reason, because I decided in 2007 that it was time for me to go on and do a doctorate, because Kentucky got rid of its writing portfolio system.
Why?
Assessment.
Why did they do that?
Politics. It's the way it works, because it's expensive to assess. There was a lot of work. People didn't feel that it was preparing kids for the rigor of college, which I would argue with. And so I saw that train coming at us, and I said, it's time for me to go on and ask a question in my research. Why do bureaucracies and systems ruin everything that's great about K-12 education?
Or creativity.
Yes.
Let's even take it a
why do
step further.
Why do they squash it? And
Yeah.
so my students and I, for my departure from Kentucky, we rented out a comedy club, and some of my kids did improv work. Some of my kids played music.
This is your departing party?
Yeah, this is my departing party. It was my gift back to Kentucky, and we raised around $7,000 for Kentucky Refugee Mission to buy computers for the relocated refugees at the time. Fast forward that, and I wanted to go to Syracuse University, where I was from.
You're going back to your roots.
I went back to my roots, and was,
Southern boy no more.
Yeah, and it was, and believe it or not, while I was in Kentucky, I never tried bourbon. It wasn't until recently that I discovered that bourbon's pretty good. Yeah. So I go back to Syracuse, New York. I'm living with my family for a couple of weeks, my mom and dad, as a 37-year-old, I guess.
How was that working for you?
It was crazy. It was good. It was wonderful. I say that those 3 years that I was in Syracuse doing my doctorate rejuvenated my heart and soul and reconnected me with my family, which was wonderful.
Yeah, of course.
But I was in a bookstore when I first got back to Syracuse, and I met a guy named John Dow, who, When God Grew Tired of Us, is his book, and National Geographic did a documentary on his relocation story from Sudan. He connected me to a lot of the refugee communities in Syracuse, which eventually became my research at the university, which was called A Responsibility to Speak Out. And it was the writing lives of 8 African-born male youth who were reading and writing and thinking in and out of school. And when I was back in Syracuse, I realized that the writing curriculum in school was exactly the same as when I was in high school, and it didn't quite work.
It was a little antiquated?
Didn't work. It was kids were writing for tests and tests alone. But
I've got to just segue, and we got to take a.
Okay, no problem.
I got to have to ask you a question. I know, but I got to squeeze in here. So you've gone from Syracuse to Kentucky. You've done your passion project. You've done the holistic thing. You're seeing needs, and you're following your passion.
Yes.
So for our viewers, what I say is we always want to leave them with a way that they can say, if he can do it, I can do it too. So what fuels you? Where did this passion come from? Was it Grammy?
Well,
what makes you a seeker? What makes you a doer?
So Grandma was definitely Granny Annie with Big Fat Fanny. That's what she called herself. She was definitely the sole inspiration at a young age. But I've always said that I feel like there's a hook in my rib cage that keeps pulling me forward, and I don't know why it's being pulled forward. I've called it the great whatever. So I kind of think of the great whatever wants me to take this leap of faith, to jump and see if the net appears. And I've been following that my whole life. And
so you're a risk taker.
Yeah, but I'm
and a
scared
passion
to death.
seeker.
And I'm scared. Well, yes, I would say that, but I'm also very nervous, and I have a lot of trepidation when I take these jumps. But the great whatever always seems to land me in a wonderful place, including being here on your show. Who would have ever?
We're
thought
so
I'd
glad
be
you
here,
came.
Right.
My grandma used to say, "You can't be a success until you make others a success." So I think you got a little bit of that too from Granny.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then I started, another inspiration that I realized keeps me fueled is my cousin Mark Crandall, who lives in Long Island. started a nonprofit called Hoops for Hope, and it's international work. He works out of Amagansett, Long Island, but then he goes to South Africa and Zimbabwe. And from a young age, he was 5 years older than me, but I was always inspired by his motivation to connect individuals around the world. And he introduced me to the philosophy of Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is South African, and it translates as, I can be who I am because of who we are together. And since I've
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and since I've adopted that in my work, and he uses it with Hoops for Hope, I realized that creating communities and connecting communities and being part of communities actually makes me a stronger person.
Absolutely.
So I'm constantly looking for ways to network the strengths of the kids I work with or the teachers I work with other communities that will help support their dreams and their passions. And that has led to some of the work that I've been able to do at Fairfield University, which I'm very grateful for.
That is excellent. So we're going to take a quick break,
No
and
problem.
when we come back, we're going to talk about the Connecticut Writing Project, what you do with the refugees, how you won that award. There's a
Okay.
lot behind
Still
that,
scratching my head on that one, but that's
and so much more. I'm so
great.
glad that you joined
This is
us.
awesome. Glad to
Yes,
be here.
it's excellent. We're going to be right back, everyone. It's Denise DiGrigoli here on The Drive on the HN Network every Tuesday. You can find us on demand later, and if you like the show, please share. And if you think you'd like to be on the show or you know someone that's a great fit, please send them our way. We'll be right back.
Part of banking well is doing good. That's why, with the support of local community partners, Bankwell has launched the Bankwell Pet Adoption Project to boost awareness about the hundreds of animals in local shelters that need a home. And when you donate to the cause using the Bankwell self-service coin machines, we'll match your donation. For details, visit mybankwell.com/pleaseadoptme. Bank smart, bank local, bank well.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
The new fishing season is fast approaching, so it's time to head over to the dock shop and get your gear in order. We're now offering bait in both Darien and our Westport location. The dock shop can service and repair your rods and reels, spool up new line, and fill any empty space you might have in your tackle box. Whether you're a fisherman, boater, or beach bum, the dock shop is a unique place to shop. The dock shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
Spring has sprung at Walter Stewart's Market, and we're celebrating the new season with fresh takes on spring. From the finest produce around to guaranteed fresh seafood delivered daily by the best local supplier. Not only are we your time-saving one-stop shop for everything you need this season, our personable team is always ready with a helping hand. Shop Stewart's for the best of spring. Find us at 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com. At Worcester School, we believe summer is a time for kids to be kids. We provide the safe and nurturing environment for them to find activities that match their interests and allow them to create lasting friendships. Summer at Worcester offers 7 weekly sessions at our Danbury campus from Monday, June 26th through Friday, August 11th for pre-K to grade 8. Find out more about our extended hours, new optional lunch program, and a new low price at summer@worcester.org or 203-830-3921. Summer at Worcester, experience the difference.
Wild Birds Unlimited, your one-stop shop for all your backyard bird hobby needs. Premium bird seed, freshly delivered each week. A great selection of bird feeders, houses, a patented pole system, bird baths, and a vast array of wonderful gifts of whimsy and nature. Visit us at 356 Heights Road in Darien, next to the post office, and across from Norotan Heights Railroad Station. Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
Have you ever thought about shifting the way you look at things and maybe trying something different? Maybe that would solve your dilemma. Maybe it might move you forward. I believe that it's how you fuel your mind, your body, your spirit that creates the lifestyle you live. And the only way you can live the lifestyle you want is to fuel it well. So we're so thankful that every Tuesday we get to spend this hour with you. Hopefully you find some motivation here that you can share and make other people a success and yourself along the way. Today we're talking to Dr. Bryan Ripley Crandall, who just won the Elizabeth Freeman Civic Leadership Award, but beyond that, he's doing incredible things with kids to solve the achievement gap. So we are in the midst of talking about his journey from Syracuse to Kentucky and why writing's so important. But now what I want to know, Doctor, Dr. C's in the house. I just got to say that.
That's funny.
I love your passion, and I love what you stand for in terms of writing. And some people take that incidentally, I'm going to just write that. But you're really passionate about writing, and you're passionate about how it makes other people's lives change. What I really want to know is, how does it make someone's life change?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I remember one time somebody saying, you direct a writing project, but are you a writer? What books have you written? And I've always thought about that because it's true. I haven't published the greatest novel or a book of poetry, but I write every single day. And I have written every single day since I was in college. And I started to think about writing to me is therapy. Writing is, I write my way to know. I write to process the world around me. I write to figure out what it is exactly I'm thinking about. And sometimes I write truth, you know, and sometimes I write creatively to kind of figure out how I can bring characters or ideas towards truth, right? So, you know, for me, when I was in the classroom, I went through the Louisville Writing Project, right? And that was in 2002. And it's part of the National Writing Project Network, which empowers teachers because they believe that teachers teaching teachers is the best professional development you could have. And in that summer, I had my journal, and we had to do all these writing prompts, and I started writing with my students in mind. We wrote for ourselves, but we also wrote about how we could be better teachers of writers. And so that first year after I got out of the Louisville Writing Project, I started adopting that philosophy of writing with my students, that we were writing every single day, and we were creating every single day, and we were sharing every single day, which resulted in me going to state conferences and presenting, which eventually resulted in my students going to state conferences and presenting to teachers about how they could be better taught to be writers. And so I realized with the National Writing Project model that, you know, it's not only about writing, it's also about the teaching of writing. And for me, that's kind of healing the souls of the lives of the kids that we teach. I've learned that if we're always
writing is healing.
Yeah, writing is healing. I think writing is
writing is healing.
It's like breathing.
And these kids are writing, or you're encouraging them to write, and through that they're experiencing some type of healing.
Yes, and I think you know, when you're going through adolescence, you're always trying to figure out who you are. But I think we're trying to figure out who we are throughout our whole lives.
Absolutely.
And the more that
Firm agreement there.
The more, you know, when you have everything trapped upside in here, you know, it's there. But if you're taking it and you're letting it move down your arm, right, and you're able to put it on the paper, you're making it real. It's becoming alive. You started out your program today talking about note-taking and doodling out your ideas and brainstorming and mind mapping. Totally the right way to go. You wake up in the morning, you have an idea, you should bubble it out on a piece of paper. Draw a self-portrait, draw a stick figure of yourself if you can't draw, and then start listing out what are you thinking around that. It's a way of organizing, right?
And I find it stress relieving.
Yes.
I find it has a little magical component. You know, see, I run around with my markers. I feel like, too, like the color, the vibration, all of that makes a difference. I love your metaphor of if it drains out, because the second greatest thing to this are these. And there's something magical about that.
Well, and I always told my students in high school that, like, when I could tell there was something bothering them. And I would say, I just want you to go home and write it out. You don't have to share it with me, but write it out so that you can shape it and you can look at it and you can sculpt it into what it really is. Sometimes the kids would share things with me, sometimes they wouldn't. But the idea was that writing is a way of knowing, right? It's the way of seeing.
Do I have to be a great writer?
No, absolutely not. And that's what I think is pretty phenomenal about, like, the way I think. I think that a young kid, a little kid, drawing on a piece of paper with crayons, and they come up to you and they say, this is what it is. This is a lion eating a leopard being chased through the jungle of, you know, Venezuela. Okay, it looks like scribbles to me. But the kids see in their doodles what is larger. And I think that's true of more advanced writers too. You put something onto paper and then you share it with other people, and all of a sudden they see the bigger picture of that writing. And I also like, the epistolary, that big letter writing days, those days are gone because we have text messages and we have emails and we have social media.
We tweeted 140 characters, yeah.
And I still say, I feel like I'm blessed because I was born during the era of letter writing.
Yeah, I
and
love
my
letter
grandmother
writing.
would write me letter, and my mom and dad would write me letter, and when I was away at college, I would write, my friends' letters, and it was just such a beautiful way of connecting. We don't have that necessarily anymore, but it was the way of like, oh, this is what's up in my friend's world. How beautiful is that?
Yes.
In some ways, we still have it. It's a lot faster than it used to be. It's a lot quicker. There's a lot more dazzle, but it's a way of, when you think about written communication, it begins with COM, and so does community.
Yeah.
So when you are writing or scribbling or doodling or ranting or being poetic, you are joining the community of other people who do the same. It's about sharing.
So now you've got these. Tell us about what led up to your leadership award.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you've got a lot of stuff you do for the community, and I want people to know what you're doing in our community and globally. I mean.
So the Elizabeth M. Freeman Award was given to me for civic leadership for my work in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I arrived here in 2011. I immediately started writing grants through the National Writing Project, and we would do professional development in schools to help teachers
There's a
with
nice
the
photo
teaching
of you with the
writing.
kids.
And then that eventually moved towards, I wrote a grant through Bank of America, and this is all luck, and this is the great whatever.
It's great fish snack.
Yeah. I wanted to bring what my colleague Dr. Marcel Haddix at Syracuse University and I started in Syracuse, New York when I was a doctoral student. And that was to host writing conferences for kids that were outside of the parameter of school so that kids would see that writing is something bigger than the way that they are assessed in the classroom. So Marcel and I, when we started it in Syracuse, New York, we expected around 25 kids to come to a community center. We all volunteered our time. It was free. On the first day we hosted it in downtown Syracuse, New York, it was pouring rain, and we got 125, 150 kids that wanted to come to write. And we realized we're onto something here. Now, I had come from Kentucky, and I was used to kids writing all the time. I know that's not the stereotype of Kentucky, but it was the truth of Kentucky. Kentucky had a phenomenal program.
Go Kentucky.
Right, go Kentucky. Y'all were good writers, all right? And then at Syracuse, I felt like I had gone back in the past. But Marcel and I started these writing conferences that just took off, and she's still doing them there. She's inside classrooms. She's doing research on it. And when I came to Fairfield University, that was one of my first goals. How do I start a writing conference for kids? And Bank of America gave me the funding, and being the connector through Ubuntu, there was a man named Kwame Alexander who was a poet and a young adult novelist, and he had sent me, well, that's another story. I'll get to that in a little bit. So I invited him as a guest to be our keynote speaker on that day. We brought around 130 kids to Fairfield University.
What age?
They were all high school kids.
From local?
Yep, they're from Central High School, Harding, Bassick, Fairchild Wheeler. We brought about 20 kids from each of the schools. And I paid different writers from Southern Connecticut to do a workshop for kids. And they all could choose which workshop they wanted to do with the idea that they would have to share some of their writing at the end of the day, which they did. So that was in 2012, 2013. Since then, I've been able to write grants and work in New Haven public schools. Another grant that I wrote that has kind of united even more of the schools in Connecticut was through the MacArthur Foundation and the John Legend campaign.
Good for you.
They funded us to unite 6 schools, one from Reading, one from Darien, one from Staples High School, 2 from the city of Bridgeport, and Global Studies Magnet in Norwalk. We brought Matt Della Pina, the young adult author, to our campus as a keynote. We all read a book called We Were Here, and the 400 students who were part of that all wrote in different genres about why are they in Connecticut. The theme was we too are Connecticut.
I read that,
We all have voices together. We all make this state a better place. And we collaborated our thinking and our ideas through what we call digital Ubuntu. That is that our kids kept blogs, or they created radio plays and podcasts, or they did TED Talks that would be online so that they could see what kids at other schools were doing. And then we brought them to campus for a Writing Our Lives event, and it was super diverse, and all the kids fell in love with being able to work with kids from other communities. And it was an absolute blast.
Just tell our viewers, we had a guest on last week that's working on the achievement gap. Tell us what your version is of Connecticut's achievement gap.
Well, when I first arrived to Connecticut, I chose Fairfield County very specifically because of really two things. I mean, there was a large refugee population in New Haven and in Bridgeport.
Refugees from where?
From all over, from Africa, now they're coming from Syria, from Bosnia, and from old school, from Vietnam, still relocating into the Bridgeport area. And I wanted to continue doing that advocacy work. But then I saw and I read that Connecticut has the largest achievement gaps in the nation.
One of the most wealthiest parts of the world.
But it's not necessarily an achievement gap. It's an opportunity gap. I call it zip code apartheid. It's so interesting to think that kids who are born the same year and would be attending the same grade can have completely opposite schooling experiences depending on the town or the village or the city that they're born in. And we see that probably all over the nation, but you see the extremities of that. The extremities of that are in Connecticut. And it's mesmerizing, it's tantalizing, it's frustrating that we see that. But I see my work at Fairfield University, Men and Women for Others, the Jesuit mission, is thinking about how can I get kids from vast socioeconomic backgrounds, from different races, from different lived experiences, together in the same room to collaborate and to think together about what does it mean to be a human being? How are we more alike than we are different?
Now, that is excellent. So when you have these kids from the zip codes we're referring to in the room collaborating, how are we more human and alike than we are different?
Well, I think,
what's the common denominator?
Well, I think I tap on my cousin's Skills for Life, Hoops for Hope, where he says he teaches kids athletically that to be a good athlete on the field, you have to have integrity, self-esteem, self-awareness, Ubuntu, right? A sense of humor, responsibility, and focus.
Tell us what Ubuntu is again.
Ubuntu is I am who I am because of who we are together. It's community. And so he talks to his athletes about why you need that to play as a team. And I've started to realize that that's what we need to start doing in our classrooms, to focus on those life skills, because that's how you build a stronger human being. Ubuntu also translates as a human being becomes a human being because of other human beings. And so in our classrooms and with our instruction and with our writing assignments and with our discussions, right, if we are focusing on kids to be able to talk to one another about what it means to be a human being, they're more likely to transcend their mindset from the local to the state to the national to the global.
Yes,
right?
Perfect.
Right, and I think given realities of where we are right now, as a nation and as a planet in this galaxy, in this universe, is that we need to have more conversations about what unites us and makes us the same than what makes us different. I choose love over hate. That easy.
It is that easy for some of us, right? But those that don't have that beacon of light spearheading them through, we need great people like you.
Well,
we really do. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we're going to come back and we're going to keep talking to you because we are just taking the frosting off the cake, friends. It's Denise DiGrigoli here every Tuesday on the HN Network. Isn't it fabulous? We get to move each other forward with these great stories of inspiration. We'd love to hear what you think about the show. You can tweet me at Denise DiGrigoli, or you can tweet us at HN Network CT. Tell us what you think. Share it with your friends. Be part of the success. Mentor someone else. We'll be right back with Dr. C. Thanks so much.
At the Milford Bank, we offer an extensive selection of lending products and services to meet virtually any need. Submit your application online in our mortgage web center. Start to finish, you can apply for a loan in as little as 10 minutes. Our knowledgeable and helpful staff are available to meet with you at your convenience. To learn more about what we can do for you, stop by one of our Milford Bank offices or visit us at milfordbank.com. The Milford Bank, always there. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know heart attacks and strokes are the leading cause of death in America? Protect the health of you and your loved ones. Talk to a doctor about heart disease. Hi, I'm Dr. David Pazer with ProHealth Physicians, encouraging you to stay informed about health matters that affect you.
ProHealth Physicians is on the pulse of social media to share information about health and nutrition with the community. Get up-to-the-minute alerts, including ProHealth Physicians' news and upcoming events. Connecticut's leading group of primary care doctors is just a click away.
Let our satisfied customers tell it.
I have called Mr. Handyman for every reason, every occasion, every broken item, every leak. They have bailed me out on many occasions, and I would recommend them to anyone.
For any project, large or small.
MrHandymanCT.com.
Pizza to satisfy even the most demanding critics. Wilton Pizza.
Family and Children's Aid has been serving the community since 1809 and is now the largest outpatient children's mental health care provider in Western Connecticut. Our innovative services include providing shelter to homeless moms and children, substance abuse intervention, mental health counseling, and foster and adoptive services, among others. Our goal is to provide individuals and families a safe haven and hope for a brighter future. Find out more about us at fcaweb.org and call our Danbury campus at 203-748-5689.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office. I'm John Kovach.
We're talking to Dr. Crandall about his beautiful leadership award, which he's so humble about, and all the work he's doing here in Connecticut to close that achievement gap. What I love about him is his passion and how he's followed his dreams, more or less, of helping people throughout his entire career. So, Dr. C, back in the house, what I love about you is that you really, you're like the ever, you're nonstop, the ever ready bunny. Tell us about this Connecticut Writing Project.
So I am the director of the Connecticut Writing Project at Fairfield University. It's one of 3 writing projects in the state. There's one at Central Connecticut, one at Storrs as well. And we are part of a national network of writing project sites that are funded through the National Writing Project. Unique to Fairfield University are what we call the Young Adult Literacy Labs. And in 2014, I was thinking about the economics of Connecticut and the expense of summer camps. And I started doing some research of how can I offer summer opportunities for writing for kids that's more affordable. And so I looked at the average price of camps around the state, and then I kind of created these ideas of like, okay, we'll have a 1-week novel writing lab, and a 1-week spoken word poetry lab, and a 1-week political writing lab. And that's what kicked it off. And that was in 2014, and we were thinking, I wonder if this will work. Well, we got around, we had 42 kids and then 78 kids and 115, and now we're up to about 200 kids in a summer.
Wow,
and,
excellent.
And 48% of the kids that come to our young adult literacy labs are on scholarship, which means that we can continue to mix up the super diversity that I desire. The other part of what is unique to us is we always host a invitational summer institute for teachers, and the teachers apply, and we take anywhere between 12 and 15 teachers, and they come in the summer to study the teaching of writing.
Wow.
And they work on their own writing like I did in Louisville, and they think about the teaching of writing. We reshaped that a little bit so that we could tap into the young adult literacy labs. The labs being that our teachers can then go into these writing camps to see how expert teachers and expert writers work with young people to really pull out the greatest work in the genre that they're working Another part of the Young Adult Literacy Labs that's also unique to Connecticut Writing Project is the creation of Ubuntu Academy. Ubuntu, I am, because we are. Ubuntu Academy is a 2-week summer literacy lab.
Is this your brainchild?
This is mine, yeah, and it's from, well, it's something. I'm not sure if it's my brainchild because it's taken a lot of people working together to make this happen.
Many hands make light work?
Yes,
So
definitely.
to speak.
So we bring immigrant and refugee kids who have just arrived. They have ESL, English as a Second Language.
How do you find them?
During the school year? Well, they're in every school. I mean, the English as a second language learner is the largest growing population in the United States.
Wow.
And we have schools that work with the kids during the year, but when other kids are going to summer camp and they're swimming or they're going to sports camps, sometimes these kids are forgotten and neglected. So we created a 2-week summer lab called Ubuntu Academy where the kids come, we read a young adult novel together, we write a lot, but we also have a lot of conversational opportunities. I want the young people coming from South America, from Africa, from Asia, I want them to be able to speak English as much as they can. So the teachers that are in the Institute have opportunities to work with the kids. Athletes at Fairfield University through Coach Sidney Johnson, who are on campus doing summer training, they have opportunities that we mix the kids up so that they can talk. I hire some kids from undergrads and graduate students who are able to offer some sports opportunities, while they're reading and writing. It's fun to play too. It's summer. The rules of our camp are easy. You got to write every day. You got to read every day. You got to speak every day. But most importantly, you got to have fun because it's summer. And so we've been doing this now for 4 years, and.
No wonder you got the leadership award.
Well,
I don't think there's one stone you haven't touched.
No, I'm not sure about that. But we also we take the writing that the teachers and the kids do every year, and they polish it, and they send their best piece to us, and we publish it in Power of Words. It's an anthology of the Connecticut Writing Project where the kids can share with their families and their grandparents and their relatives overseas what they wrote. And I actually, when I delivered the books this year to Bassick High School, Mr. King, one of their teachers, and Jessica Baldazan, another great teacher who run Ubuntu Academy, I dropped them off, and a young man named Lambert held it up with the biggest smile on his face, and he said, "I'm a writer. This is my book. This is going on my shelf." And that's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. Yeah. So let's just shift lanes.
Okay.
How does somebody like you that's so energized, so motivated, so passionate, stay balanced? What do you do for you beyond your writing? We know you're writing.
Yeah. I guess that's an interesting question.
We only ask interesting questions
here. To keep balanced, I started running when I was in high school, more of a weight issue thing, but I still run to keep balanced. And I try to run every single day. It's harder now after a couple surgeries and aching knees. And I also like to hike and walk. I've got my dog that I take. And it's also, just relaxing with people who keep me motivated, who know how to laugh, who think outside of the box and are doing their own wild thing, right? That kind of keeps me very,
So you're wowed by other people's motivation.
Yeah, and people always say, when do you sleep? And I'm like, I sleep better now than I've ever slept in my life. And, and maybe it's because I'm in this rhythm and flow of doing with the world what I want out of the world. But yeah, that's...
What would you say is the thing that you're most proud of?
Oh my God, I'm most proud of? You would ask that. I would say I am most proud of. Oh God, that's a tough one. You're gonna put me on the spot.
I always got to ask the tough one close to the end.
I will say that this is what I'm most proud of. And it's not what I'm most proud of, but that's how I'm going to answer this question. It's part of what I'm most proud of. This fall, I'll be going to the National Council of Teachers of English and the National Writing Project annual meeting in St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow.
And that's a place for teachers to showcase the work that they're doing in schools. And we had 6 proposals accepted through the Connecticut Writing Project this year, some of it to celebrate young adult literacy labs, another one to celebrate Ubuntu Academy and the collaboration with teachers in Connecticut who worked with artist Rick Schaefer to write about their own lives and the idea of relocating. And we're all going to be able to go and present to teachers all across the country on this work. And I think the reason why I say that as being most inspirational or what I'm most proud of is because it really is a showcase of everything that I believe in. The teaching of writing, the excellence of research, reworking with marginalized communities, and supporting teachers. That's probably number one. We spend so much time bashing educators in this nation when I think they are truly the heroes.
Oh,
right?
please,
Without a doubt.
absolutely.
And we
Absolutely.
and we do so much work trying to reshape and force kids into curriculum instead of questioning how we could reshape curriculum and force it around the needs of kids.
And,
right?
and make it a smidge more customized.
Yes, without a doubt.
So one of the sort of meditative writing prompts in my daily drive is I visualize, you know. So I'm sort of steering my thoughts when I write what I visualize, because I know if I don't steer them, you know, they might just go willy-nilly. So what do you visualize?
So what do I visualize?
Where are we going in the next 5 years with Dr. C?
I would like to see a lot more of mixing up our communities. I have a couple of op-eds that were published in the Connecticut Mirror about the need for really embracing the diversity of Connecticut, but I would say embracing the diversity of our nation. I would like to see more opportunities for multicultural conversations amongst teachers from different buildings, and for kids from different buildings.
So do you work from the bottom up or the top down? What's your number one tip for allowing diversity or creating diversity or opening the mind?
I think the number one tip is to figure out, because when I think about what Marcel Haddix and I were doing in Syracuse, New York, or what I think about what I was doing in Louisville, Kentucky, it was about giving opportunities for kids who are unlike other kids to come together to realize how much alike they actually are.
Back to that human
right.
being statement.
And it goes back to the Brown School where I taught in Kentucky on the corner of First and Muhammad Ali, had a mission of diversity. And they had a philosophy that diversity should bridge conversation and dialogue rather than separate us. And so I'm always, that was ingrained in me as an educator, that we need to think of every individual in our classroom as a unique person, who actually makes the community stronger.
And more vibrant.
Right.
And more creative.
It goes back to Ubuntu. And so
stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally what it's about.
Well, we're so thrilled. I'm so thankful that you came on today. Would you like to leave our audience with a method to get in touch with you? Twitter, your Facebook? How are they finding you? Because now they're going to want to ask you a lot of questions too.
You can, Bryan Ripley Crandall, although my personal website's outdated. You can find me on Facebook. BR Crandall's my Twitter handle. The CWP at Fairfield, we're currently enrolling kids for the summer programs. We have a really awesome program this summer called Project Citizen, Flying Lessons from the Pros, P-R-O-S-E, in which we're really making super diversity stand up.
And what's the website for that?
That's CWP at fairfield.edu. Right?
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you're seeking some new students,
yes.
You're moving your camps forward.
We are.
And maybe you'll come back next year and talk to us again.
Anytime. I can bring you teachers and I can bring you kids. All you have to do is invite us and we'll come.
We will have you back, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Crandall.
I can't believe you brought me here.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap. What a great show. Dr. Crandall is phenomenally inspiring, and I hope today you had a little lift off on something you're thinking about doing. Tweet us at Denise DiGrigoli or HAN Network CT. Dr. Crandall will give you his Twitter feed. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you think. Share this show. It's how you fuel your mind, your body, your spirit that creates that life you live. Fuel it well. We're so thankful you gave us this time together. We'll see you next week.